What's up, everybody? Welcome once again. This is Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. You got Brent Axe with you here, and boy, it's been a busy 24 hours or so. Syracuse football with the big win over Washington State. Forgot for a second who's playing who. What sport am I talking about? Syracuse with the Holiday Bowl win over Washington State in San Diego, 52-35. Then they play a little basketball at the JMA Wireless Dome today, and the Orange close out non-conference play with a 75-63 win over Bucknell. Syracuse will enter full-time ACC play in their ACC opener on New Year's Eve against Wake Forest at 6-6. So Syracuse is playing 500 basketball, certainly had its struggles in non-conference play, certainly had some struggles in this game tonight, but a couple of things that emerged that could end up being a positive for Syracuse and ACC play, and we will go over it all here. We'll hear from our Syracuse Sports Insiders, as always, who we heard from throughout this game, as well. Being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me. You can send me your questions, your thoughts, your opinions, a stream of consciousness about Syracuse sports. Direct text message access to me. You text me, I text you. The group as a whole gets all the information, breaking news, opinions, insight, and analysis from me as well. It's just $3.99 a month, but you can try it free for 2 weeks. It's been awesome to hear from some new insiders who said they got their subscription as a holiday gift. Why not? And now that the holidays are winding down here, Christmas is over, Hanukkah, we are in the midst of here, the new year coming. What a better New Year's resolution than to become a Syracuse Sports Insider. We would love to hear from you. So a lot to go over for this one. Let's dive right in here on this, and we will hear what Adrian Autry had to say in his opening statement at his press conference here shortly. Three-point shooting has been an issue for Syracuse all year. It's going to continue to be an issue with this team going forward. I just don't see a big improvement there, and today was a great example of it. Syracuse actually shot decently from the three-point line in the first half. They go into halftime with 6 threes in the bank, which with this team, which is ranked somewhere in the 300s in three-point shooting all year long, you'll take what you can get from who you can take it from, right? You don't care who's hitting the threes as long as they're hitting them. And today, Lucas Taylor was a guy who stepped up and hit a few more threes in this game. He's been inconsistent from the line. He likes to shoot threes. Today, he gets a few from beyond the arc. You'll take that. But the concerning thing is in the second half of this game, Syracuse goes 1 of 11 from the three-point line. Now, neither team shot well, and Syracuse says to thank its lucky stars here. We're going to get into their defense here in a second, but Bucknell shot 38% overall in this game. They did hit some threes in this matchup. Let's see, Bucknell from the three-point line, 10 of 23. Syracuse finishes at 7 for 23, again, after going into the half with 6 threes. This is going to be a big concern for this team all year long. You cannot survive in college basketball. You cannot survive in ACC play, as down as the ACC is. Not only in basketball, by the way. Look at football as we speak. The ACC is 1-7 in bowl games. Hashtag go ACC, guys. And who's got that one bowl win? Yeah, that would be Syracuse with the Holiday Bowl win over Washington State, right? But back to hoops here, and just when you have a guy like Choppa Moore who struggled from the three-point line today, he had his freshman moment. He's had a couple of them, but he is somebody they are going to need in conference play. You can't really engineer these things. Preferably, you want your freshmen against a team like Bucknell to get quality minutes, to get in the flow, get their shots going, but freshmen have freshman moments. Choppa really struggled in this game. Let's pull up his numbers from this Bucknell matchup. Let's see. He did not score. 0 for 5, 0 for 3 from three-point range. He had 4 turnovers, and a bulk of those came early in the game. He only ends up playing 16 minutes in this game. Chop is one of your best three-point shooters. You need him open, you need him confident, and you need him in the flow of the game. So he's not going to go into the opener against Wake Forest feeling it from distance, and this team overall is just not feeling it from distance. So let's just go over the three-point shooters in this game. So Donnie Freeman, 2 of 4 from three-point range. You will take that. You don't want to count on it. You want Freeman in the paint. Freeman really showed off his jumper. He was one of 2 Syracuse players in that had a double-double, I should say, along with Eddie Lampkin, as we'll talk about here shortly. Look, Donnie, 15 and 11. You'll take that all day long. Donnie, walking into a little scuffle in the second half, literally with his dukes up, like, one of those old fighters from like the 1930s, ready to duke it out with those Bucknell Bison, right? To see him put his hands up like that was actually, it was pretty fun to see that. And thankfully nothing happened beyond just, the little temper flaring after a technical follow in that situation involving Petar Mostanovic, the maestro, in that situation. But Donnie, 2 of 4 from three-point range. Chris Bell, 0 of 2. Carlos, 0 of 2. We mentioned Moore's numbers there. Kyle Cuff, who I think overall added a real spark for this team. But you don't want Kyle Cuff being the guy taking the most threes on this team. Cuff tonight getting 24 minutes in this game, 1 of 6. We mentioned Lucas, 3 of 5. You'll take that. Petar hit a 3 in this one, but they just do not have any consistency at the three-point line. And to see him go 1 of 11 in the second half, this is just not a good three-point shooting team, and this is going to be, a weight on their ankles as they go through ACC play, and you just, short of some hot shooting nights here and there, don't see it improving. And the main concern there is Chris Bell is your best three-point shooter by statistics, by history, and his struggles from the three-point line, his struggles overall just continue here. He has 4 points in this game, 2 of 5 in 16 minutes, 2 rebounds. Chris Bell is going to be pushed in that lineup by Lucas Taylor. We saw it in this matchup tonight. And look, Chris Bell starts by virtue of being a veteran, by virtue of being a guy with experience, and that's really it. Chris Bell is not a starter on this team by virtue of production, and that is something that Adrian Autry is going to have to think about unless, something kicks into gear with Bell being a guy who knows how to navigate these ACC waters, and don't underestimate that with new players coming in. Now, Eddie Lampkin is a guy who played in the Big 12, so he's certainly seen some high-level conference play. Kyle Cuff came from Kansas, but Lucas Taylor from Georgia State, Jair Davis, who struggled for the second straight game, coming from Delaware, and Jaquan Carlos coming from Hofstra. They have not seen high-level ACC play game in and game out. And again, I get it. There's a lot of bad ACC teams this year. The league overall is down, but it's still a tough league, and it's still a league where you need talent and guys that know how to go through the grinder of league play. And that's the one thing Chris Bell's got in his back pocket right now. What he does not have is consistent production. Consistent production came from Freeman and Eddie Lampkin tonight. Eddie Lampkin with 18 and 11 in 26 minutes. Freeman with 15 and 11 in 27 minutes. Freeman's getting better and better. The confidence is there. He was hitting shots from all over the court, and you can see him coming into his own. You can see him blossoming as a player, getting more confident. We mentioned, taking on a little bit of a leadership role, getting in the mix there a little bit. Those are all good things. That Freeman, the light bulb's coming on at the right time. Again, conference play. You're going to have smart coaches. They're going to know how to defend him, come at him, challenge him, double him. Kyle Cuff said something really smart about that, how teams know that Syracuse cannot shoot threes, that they're going to dump it inside. So a guy like Carlos has 9 assists tonight. Maybe you see an Eddie Lampkin, who's a great passer, see his assist numbers pop up. Donnie Freeman, find the open guy. And this is something that Syracuse has to do a lot better. They've got to move the ball better. I still watch this team, and I don't know. I mean, I know what the offense is. It's a high screen at the top, but do they have the speed at the guard position? Do they have the wherewithal to execute the kind of offense they want to run? So this is still a team that's searching for lineups. With Freeman coming in on that Petar technical foul, I've been joking around that Autry's substitution patterns are like hockey lines. Well, it felt like a hockey game in that sense, right? So they've got to find the right lineup. A lot of mixed lineups tonight. There was one that, look, I can scrutinize these all day long, as you can as well, but I just want to double back to so with about 8:07 to go, you have a substitution where you have Chris Bell and Chapa, who again really struggled in this game, come in, and almost immediately you see Kyle Cuff, Eddie Lampkin, and Lucas Taylor come back in when that lineup does not work. And I didn't understand why Lucas Taylor and Kyle Cuff were taken out at that point for Chapa and Bell. The theory was they were shooting, they're veterans in the case of Bell, and you just want to get Chapa going at that point. But the rhyme and reason for Adrian Autry's substitutions at this point, for the most part, I'm still trying to figure out. the numbers that it happens in, the hockey line type substitutions that he makes, they're real head scratchers, and you're just trying to figure out, as he said at his press conference, and I'll play his opening statement here shortly, I have a standard and we're not up to that yet, right? Well, what is that standard? We're still trying to kind of put our thumb on it. I mean, I should have jumped in and asked him, when you get to that standard, what does that look like? But whatever it is, Syracuse is nowhere near that, right? And they're continuing to search for it, and he's continuing to search for productive lineups. And what that led to, and I remember after the Maryland game, an 87-60 loss, their worst loss of the season, Red said there'd be some changes. As it turns out, the main change that we saw in this game, Syracuse went to the press, the zone press, as Autry put it, for the reason, and he admitted they just needed a spark, some energy. He had some time, about a week after the Maryland game going into this one with a little bit of a holiday break, but Syracuse comes back on Christmas night. They practice on Christmas night, and as Autry told his players, they were going to use the press. I don't know where that music was coming from, an ad somewhere. Sorry about that, guys. But I don't know if you heard that, but they really needed to inject some energy into the lineup. Well, as that turned out, it was the press. Now, the good news is Syracuse did look better defensively. They did create some turnovers. They did get, 20 points off turnovers. The bad news is Syracuse had 21 turnovers itself, right? So the added pace, the change there, they had 4 turnovers before they scored a point in this game, and they end up with 21 turnovers on the night. Bucknell gets 19 points off turnovers. So that obviously, if you're going to play at a quicker pace, you can't turn the ball over at that rate. That goes without saying. But I like that they went to the press. I like that they mixed it up, put energy and forces some guys to get into a situation. Kyle Cuff was saying in the locker room after him, he's comfortable, in the press, likes to get into that rhythm there. But a better team is going to just move the ball up the court, utilize their speed, couple of passes, get to the hoop. That's the risk. Jim Boeheim always talked about it. Agree or disagree, the press was almost a desperation defense. It was to mix things up and to not only up the pace for your team, but to change the pace on the opponent. I like that Autry did it, that he sent a message with it, that we've got to do something different, and we've got to you kind of test the will of certain players that are going to play at a pace that you need to and play hard on defense, which Syracuse was standing around too much on defense against Maryland in a man-to-man, right? So what is the happy medium at this point? A zone press that Syracuse put out there tonight. So I was actually happy to see that. I like that it's in their back pocket, and if you have players that like to play in it, frankly, they can hide some flaws in the press as well as many flaws as it does expose. Let's see if Syracuse can handle it, if Carlos can handle it. I mean, Eddie Lampkin getting up and down the court in the press is going to be tough. I talked to him afterwards in the locker room. He says he's feeling good. His back issues, have not bothered him recently, but anybody that's got back issues knows they can flare up at any time. So, again, that's the risk you take. Naheem McLeod was actually in this game for a little bit and struggled mightily. People have asked me a lot, why doesn't Naheem play? He takes up so much space in the paint. We saw it today. People just blow right by him. He can't defend. For a guy who's 7'3", he takes up space, but he's slow. His slow feet. He can't get up and down the court, and players just drive right by him. God bless him. He's a great kid. I've enjoyed talking to him, and I think if you see him on social media, he's got a really positive message about life, which is great. But basketball-wise, he struggles out there, and we see why Lampkin is the guy, and Naheem is just going to come in and kind of spell certain situations. He plays 2 minutes tonight and really, really struggled. Autry had to immediately take him out of the game once he got in there. So the three-point shooting's been an issue offensively as this team still kind of tries to figure out what it is. There was still a lot of standing around in the perimeter, not seeing enough diversity in the offense, not seeing enough change in the offense from what we've seen in the past. Ball movement is still iffy. It can happen, but you still have guys just waiting for their shot. Too much standing around on the offensive end. So that leads to, we mentioned the shooting struggles that Syracuse had in the second half. This was a tie game in the second half, 32-32, after Syracuse had a 43-31 lead at halftime. Syracuse, let me give you the second half shooting numbers here. So we mentioned the 3-point shooting for the Orange in the second half, which was 1 for 11. Syracuse was 10 of 27. It's 37% shooting the ball in the second half. Syracuse struggled from the free throw line again. As we know, free throws matter, but this is a team that has just consistently shown it's not going to be a good three-point and free throw shooting team this year. 14 of 23 at the free throw line tonight. I marked this with 9:53 remaining in the second half. That's when the Syracuse basketball team eclipsed the point total the football team had in the Holiday Bowl, 52. That's when they passed the 52-point mark with 9:53 to go. Ended up with 75 on the night. So it's a team that just is trying to still find itself and is going into ACC play at 6-6, is going into ACC play without a significant non-conference win on their belt. And I get it. They're going into an ACC that is down. They're going into an ACC that, and I'm just going to take a peek at it here, with league play set to begin full time here for Syracuse on New Year's Eve. So Duke's on top of the league at 10-2. SMU is 10-2, 2-0. I'm not sure what kind of schedule SMU has played this year. Let's look at it real quick. SMU lost to Butler. They lost to Mississippi State. They did play Washington State. They beat Virginia in league play early on. They beat LSU. So, I mean, they have a couple of decent wins. Beat Boston College. We'll see how they do against Duke coming up on January 4th. But, hey, good for SMU. Gets in the ACC championship game and the college football playoff, and they've got a pretty good basketball team as well this year as a new entry into the ACC. Clemson's 10-3. They're 2-0 in the league. Pitt is 10-2. But the ACC currently, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll double check myself as we discuss it here, I'm pretty sure Duke's the only team that's ranked right now in the so-called best college basketball conference in the country. Duke's number 4 in the country, and just to double check myself as they're the only ranked ACC team. The next team in the others receiving votes category is Pitt with 27 votes. Carolina's got 20. Clemson gets votes, and that's it. Like, that's how down the league is at this point. So if you're Syracuse, I mean, let's be honest here. Teams are looking at Syracuse saying, we can beat them. There's nothing about Syracuse that would intimidate anybody in this league, that would make anybody fear what they do in this league, and that's a problem, right? But there's also a lot of beatable teams in this league. Stanford's 9-3. They've got an ACC win. NC State 8-4. Carolina's middle of the pack. Notre Dame 7-5. And this is where you find Wake Forest. They're 9-4 overall. Wake Forest has split the 2 ACC games it's played so far. So Wake Forest lost to Xavier, big. They lost to Florida, who was number 18 at the time, big. They lost to Texas A&M, who was ranked 57-44. And they lost to Clemson by 9. So when they lose, they lose. They have not played competitive in those games. Looking at, these are the kind of wins Wake's put up this year. Coppin State, NC A&T. They did beat Michigan by 2 earlier in the year. South Carolina, Upstate, West Carolina, all the directional schools here in the state of Carolina. They beat Detroit, Mercy by 10. Minnesota, they got a Big Ten win there by 6, 57-51. We mentioned they beat BC, beat James Madison, and just recently lost to Clemson, who at the time was number 25 in the country. So Wake Forest, you've got to think at home you would put in the category of a beatable team, right? But who can Syracuse look at and say, oh, yeah, we got this? That's where Syracuse is right now. That is the sobering fact of Syracuse basketball, that they're going into league play, and there is nobody that I rattled off there that you bank as a win. Nobody, right? Go through the rest of it. Louisville's 8-5. They've got a league win. Cal 7-5. Virginia's struggling at 7-5 by their standards. Syracuse right here at 6-6, near the bottom of the league. Virginia Tech is 5-7. Miami, Jim Larinaga, of course, the big news this week, stepping down there, 4-8. Florida State's 9-4, but has 2 ACC losses. And then you got BC and Georgia Tech at the bottom of the league at 8-5 and 6-7. Wake Forest is your opener. Syracuse has struggled with almost every non-conference team it has played. Bucknell, they did have at least comfortable leads against, went on some spurts offensively. I never felt like Bucknell could win this game, but still, Syracuse just did not have that, put their foot on their throat. This is the Syracuse basketball we know and love in non-conference play blowout win. They just didn't have it, right? They didn't get the signature win, and they didn't get that huge victory that you look for. They struggled with Lemoyne. They struggled with Colgate. They did not make it easy on themselves in any game in non-conference play. So that's where they're at. They're still trying to find themselves. They are a poor three-point shooting team. They're a poor free throw shooting team. It's encouraging to see what a Donnie Freeman is doing when Moore is on his game, though he's struggled lately. I know Jair Davis has struggled as of late, but I still think he's somebody that has shown he can step up to this level of play. Again, we'll see if it happens consistently in the ACC, but the player he is, the skill set that he has, I'm encouraged by. I think that's a guy that can battle in the paint a little bit here, but Syracuse is still trying to find itself, find an identity, and what exactly that orange standard is that Adrian Autry talks about. Speaking of which, I brought that up. Let's play that clip. Here was Autry's opening statement.
It was the best defensive game that we had all year. We were active. We had 13 steals. Held them to 63 points. The things that I got upset about was a couple of shots at the end, plays that we shouted. We let them, score 6 or 9 points on the plays that we knew were coming. But I was disappointed in that, disappointed in our turnovers. But overall, I thought it was one of the better games we played, this year. Just from a defensive standpoint, I thought our defense was a lot better. I thought it was more active. I thought we had some more energy, and I thought we rebounded the ball really well. We limited them to, a couple of shots, and then we got back out and we pushed it. So again, excited about that. As far as the progress, we needed that after coming off the Maryland game to have a game against a good team, and to be able to come out and respond that way. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen. After you have a loss like that. But I just thought these guys had focus. They came out. I thought the energy level was where it needed to be. It wasn't perfect by far. Still got ways to go, but it's a step in the right direction. Any questions?
There you go, Adrian Autry's opening statement from tonight. Now let's hear statements from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. And to sign up, just hit that link, joinsubtext.com/Syracuse Sports, or text the word orange to 315-847-3895. And our Syracuse Sports Insiders led off today. I saw my man Jeff tonight. Good to see him. And I met his sons at the Dome tonight. And if, anybody really, but especially our Syracuse Sports Insiders, come over and say hello if you're at the Dome. It was great to catch up with Jeff, who says, okay, 1, defense keyed the win, can't complain, energy there, very good. But he says, 2, barring a dramatic turnaround here, Chris Bell is a guy I am encouraging to portal in the offseason. He has regressed badly and does not seem to have the psyche to manage expectations at this level. I can't push back against that. Chris Bell is just, he's not producing at a consistent level. He's not leading on the court. He's not demonstrating what else he can do besides hit 3-point shots. You got to produce as a veteran, as a guy that this team is leaning on, and we're just not seeing it from Bell. I hope he snaps out of it because I like Chris. I enjoy talking to Chris in the locker room. I've brought it up before. I'll use the word again. He's very philosophical, but that might be what kind of holds him back a little bit. Maybe he thinks too much. It does take a long time for him to get that ball and get that shot off. It's very slow. Like, the progression as a player just isn't there for what Syracuse needs. And he's got plenty of time to figure it out. Again, he's the guy that's gone through the rigors of the ACC schedule more than anybody on this roster, sort of JJ, who, by the way, no update on JJ Starling. It was asked, Mike Waters asked Adrian Autry about that after the game, and there's no firm update on when JJ's coming back. But other than that, Chris Bell is the guy that's been through the ACC wars, if you will, and you need him to produce. You need him to snap out of it. I'm thinking of that great line in that movie Moonstruck, Cher, snap out of it. There you go, Chris. That'll get you out of it by me quoting movies from the 1980s. Antonio says, I feel good there's a kid like Kyle Cuff who seems to have retained a great attitude, even though he's being cheated out of minutes that he should be having. Look, you guys know I'm big on Kyle Cuff. Kyle Cuff is the basketball version of Yassine Willis for me. I brought it up earlier, though. Cuff's got to be careful. 1 of 6 from three-point range. You don't need Kyle Cuff taking that many threes. There were a few open shots he had to take. Someone's got to try to light the fuse from the three-point line. But the energy he brings, he can get to the basket. He's a smart player. Cuff said something that really impressed Adrian Autry. It's a simple thing, but Cuff sent a message to this team out of the Christmas break going into what is now conference play. And the season's broken down in 3 parts. There's non-conference play, there's conference play, and there's postseason play. But I think this is something a guy like Donnie Freeman, who's a freshman, Elijah Moore, Lucas Taylor, Jaquan Carlos, players that are stepping into high-level basketball that Kyle Cuff has been a part of. And he said that came from Bill Self when he was at Kansas. Autry was impressed that Cuff took on essentially a leadership role and shared that with the team. And this is a guy in Cuff that's struggled to fight for minutes, and he gave Syracuse a huge lift in this game. And they're going to need that while JJ is out going into conference play. Look, I didn't have a lot of complaints about Carlos tonight. I had some complaints at the free throw line for Carlos, and offensively, I think he's got to be smarter about some of the shots that he takes. But if you're telling me your point guard had 9 assists tonight and added 11 points to that, I'm not going to have a lot of complaints about the way Carlos played this game. He has his flaws, as we've all discussed, but make up for that somehow, right? Chris Bell doesn't make up for the lack of production in other ways. Carlos makes up for some flaws out there by being a point guard and dishing out 9 assists. You will take that in a game like this. So Cuff got a lot of compliments, as Antonio noted there, and certainly looks like he could play a role here. 1 of 6 from three-point range, though, that's a little concerning. Matt S. says, I did like the effort today. It does seem that Autry is still searching for lineups. Caught a break when a clear lineup emerged with Taylor, Cuff, and Peter, along with a combination, and I got cut off a little bit there, of Freeman mixing in there as well. Sorry, your comment got cut off there, Matt. But yeah, he did seem to find something. But then Autry has this weird tendency to pull guys when they have momentum. When they're feeling it, Taylor gets pulled, as I mentioned earlier, and Peter comes in, gives this team a great lift off the bench, takes them out. Autry's got to have a better sense of kind of let things ride out a little bit more, let that wave hit the beach before you take guys out. I think he tends to sub a little too early at times. Roger B says, watching Syracuse football yesterday and Syracuse basketball today is the tale of 2 cities. Syracuse football is fun to watch. Syracuse basketball is boring. Even when they win, they are so bad. So Roger not loving what he's seeing out there. Ron B says, love the minutes that Cuff got today. He deserves it. Really hope that Syracuse can clean up the free throws and turnovers and become a different team going into conference play. And a little bit of a typo here. That's Gary D, not Guard D. Although that sounds kind of badass. Guard, right? But it's Gary D who says, here's my starting 5. Carlos, Cuff, Freeman, Taylor, Lampkin. My first subs would be Moore and the Maestro. Bell isn't shooting and isn't consistently playing at this point. Good feedback there from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. As always, we'd love for you to join the party today and be able to directly text message me. I can directly text message you. It's not a group text. You text me, I text you. The group as a whole does get the latest text and information from me, including first thing I do after I get out of the locker room after Syracuse basketball games, text you guys the latest and greatest from Adrian Autry and the players. I sent that video that you just watched a second ago there to our insiders. They had it as soon as I got out of the locker room. You get that insight first. You get any breaking news that I have first. When I recently broke the story that Syracuse had signed Ricky Collins Jr., LSU transfer quarterback out of the portal, our Syracuse Sports Insiders were the first to hear about that. They knew my reporting process on that. They knew what led up to that. Uncle Brent took some shots on Twitter for that one, but you guys knew because you were in the loop about everything that was going on and why Syracuse was pursuing Ricky Collins Jr., why Ricky Collins Jr., who was on the sideline, by the way, at the Holiday Bowl with the Orange. Funny how that works, right? But our Syracuse Sports Insiders, that's the beauty of it. You guys get to ask good questions and get that insight. Let's face it, the portal, offseason news in football, going to be there when Kyle McCord's appeal gets decided on. He did say after the Holiday Bowl last night that even if he gets that extra year of eligibility, he's going to decide what to do, either take that or pursue the National Football League. We're going to keep you updated on all that. Guys, lacrosse is around the corner. I know I got some lacrosse people out there. So being a Syracuse Sports Insider means you're tapped in, you get it first, and we have built an amazing community of some of the more passionate Syracuse sports fans out there. So why don't you jump on board and join us today? We would love for you to be a part of it. So our next post-game show will be, as the song says, what do you do in New Year's? New Year's Eve. I'll tell you what you're doing. You're going to come hang with me after Syracuse takes on Wake Forest. That's a 2 o'clock tip at the Dome. So kind of the same routine as we did today, 2 o'clock game, and then our post-game show to follow. That will be on Tuesday afternoon. I know it's that week between Christmas and New Year's. What day is it? What time is it? Where am I? Like, people just lose. Oh, God. I had people texting me like, I forgot there was a game today, right? That's what we're here for, to give you that little reminder to our Syracuse Sports Insiders. And Tuesday night, New Year's Eve, we'll be closing out 2024, watching Syracuse open up ACC play against Wake Forest. So that's when we'll join you again on Syracuse Basketball Postgame. But thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube to Syracuse Sports with Brent Axe. So if you can't catch the show live, you can listen and watch on demand when it is convenient for you. We'll close out this version of Syracuse Basketball Postgame on that thought as the Orange take down Bucknell 75-63, and they move into season 2, if you will, the second part of the season. ACC conference play starts on New Year's Eve against Wake Forest. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you soon. And this has been Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics.